So we want to speak to you about that is Azure Developer CLI. CLI means command line interface. So it's a command line based interaction with your environment, that is Microsoft Azure, or whichever environment you are deploying to. I think this is Azure native anyway. In the sense, what I mean by Azure native is that it can work across other platform like the AWS or IBM or Alibaba Cloud or something like that. So you need to so you need to you need to familiarize yourself in this AI age. So going to other slide that we have. First of all, we need to start by we need to start by taking the step. What are the steps you need to take before we start this workshop? This workshop is brought to you and is based on Microsoft Doc, provided documentation on GitHub, and that is what we are going to be following along step by step. So we go to, this is the GitHub, which I'm going to put the link for you to walk through as well as we go along. Going to, let me put it there. So you can feel free to bookmark this step. Now, going back to the slide, you need to start fast. There are ways you can start. You can either use the GitHub code spaces. GitHub code spaces are available for you on your GitHub. If you just go to, let's see if you can find one, or you can just Google it. Just go to GitHub code spaces. So this is a feature on GitHub. So from here, you can just go through, start for free, but this is a long way because the free trial can end anytime and you need to set up again and all that. So it's better that you develop locally. So here you can run it locally or using GitHub code spaces. So both ways, GitHub code spaces is powered by VM managed by Microsoft. There are some compute that are behind it that powers that particular interface that you run. So look at the discovery phase. Discovery phase in this case is that there are multiple thousands of Microsoft Foundry templates that you can start with. You can start with the templates. You can build a multi-agent or single agent pattern and all that. Then you need to also look into the deployment phase. And the deployment phase, this is where you're actually doing the configuration of Azure services using AZD. So for the sake of us just joining us, AZD stands for Azure Developer CLI. So it's a command line interface that Azure CLI is behind the hood that is powering it. So you use it to deploy solution to Azure, the AI tool as well, and all that. So that is what it's all about. So in today's workshop, we are just going to be talking about how can you use it to deploy some AI solution on Azure. Then the security and auth. For those of us who were in my last section, I think sometime May 9, was it May 9 or May 10? So we talk about authentication. I think I spoke about when I was moving from trying to deploy those solutions on GitHub Actions and go to the Azure environment. You need to set up the auth, like authentication. That's what auth stands for. Best practice is to use the OIDC, that is OpenID Connect, to authenticate. And that is Azure will provide you with the federated credentials. In that case, you don't get to store secrets anywhere. But if you want to just use for demo purposes and all that, you can use the secret apps. There's app registration secret on Azure to do the authentication, and that will handle the deployment. Then customization phase is where you actually go into the environment and and customize it, like modify your app to be able to cater for monitoring, take care of the costs. This you need to take care of. If it's an AI app, of course, you know that there are models behind it. So you need to, and these models are consumable. And the more you consume the model tokens, the tokens are very high and can put into debt. So you need to constantly monitor, make sure that you select the best cheapest model that can save you cost. And also the monitoring is very important for those of you who must maybe have worked with Azure. You know about the Azure native monitoring tool, that is Azure Monitor, and the logs are logs to Azure Analytic Log workspaces. So all those stuff are what you need to put in place. Then production tuning, what does it mean? When you are tuning apps in production, it means that you can, maybe if you are doing like the rolling updates, if you are doing like stuff like deploying between the staging environment, swapping between the staging. For those of you who have worked with Azure App Service, you know that you need to continuously tune your app. There's what they call blue-green deployment. So when a functional one runs on the green, then the blue one is there and you can swap it based on what works. So I'm trying to, someone just reached out to me. Let me reach out to share. So that is how it works. Now you need to know how to tune your, then the expected outcomes. By the end of this section, you should be able to deploy an app, understand the architecture, and troubleshoot common AZD issues. So I don't have much slide today. Just I don't want to do more. I don't want to be do more of the slides. So I need to just go to the portal. And how can you get started with the AZD? You get started by installing it. Anything you do, you need to install it first. That's the first thing to do. Right now, because a lot of you are using Windows. A lot of people, maybe have majority of the people that are using Windows. So we are going to be doing Windows and maybe MacBook and all that. So if you are using Windows, okay, there's a tool called Chocolate. I'm not sure many of you have come across it before. So you can use Chocolate to install AZD. Let's go to AZD installation page. Right now, there are many ways you can install it. One is AZD, using package manager called Winget. Winget by default, when you set up your Windows system, it comes by default. So you can just do Winget install Microsoft.azd. It will install the package for you. Then you can also use Chocolate to install. For you to install with Chocolate, you need to first of all install your Chocolate first. So these are the links I can send to you on the chat. You bookmark them at your learning space. Just make sure that you go through them. So you need to install it. Let's go to, because I've already installed on my system. If I go to my terminal, you see that I've already installed. If I search for AZD, I think my screen check. Apologies. So if I type AZD, my screen disconnected. Let me reshare. So can you see my screen now? Can we all speak? If you have questions, just ask me. This is an interactive section, okay? So now, because I've already installed, it. So if I just type AZD, I will get the basic command I need to get. And also, one of the prerequisites is for you to first of all install Azure CLI. So like I mentioned before, AZD is powered by Azure CLI. How do you install Azure CLI? To install Azure CLI, just come to, if you are using maybe Wingate, just say Wingate install Azure.cli, and it will install those things for you. Let me pick this and then minimize my terminal. So it will install, if you do, like, if you type Azure now, AZ, that this stands for Azure CLI. It will give you the basic command you need to manage systems and all that. So let me also expand it. I'm not sure why. Okay. Now this is my Azure CLI. So if you have installed it, you can be checking your own too. So that is the basic way to start with. Let me give you the documentation to start your installation. And also I'll be doing it along with you. First of all, go to, this is for AZD installation. Chocolate, I've already put, if you want to use Chocolate to install it. Now if you want to Azure CLI installation package, these are the basic way to start with. Why do you need command? Let's even be clear. Why do we need to manage stuff using commands? Why can't we just go to the ClickUps? This particular interface is called ClickUps. For those of you, if you hear maybe your potential employer who wants to interview you mention how can you deploy resources using ClickUps, it's not asking you a big question. It's simply telling you how can you deploy resources using the user interface, the Azure portal. So that's ClickUps. That's what it means. ClickUps. No, everything is ops. DevSecOps, DevOps. So the process of clicking, they just add the ops to it. That is click operations, clicking through. So these are basic things you need to also know. Now I have my VM because I know that we must interact with Windows as well. I launched a VM that I used for this section, and this is my personal VM, so I use it for a section like this. So it's already running. I was updating my AZD because it's been a while I updated. So let me show you what I did. Let me expand my terminal. So because when I checked the version, I was prompted that it's actually out of date. So I have to just run this command to update it. So it's being updated already. So I have the latest version right now. I'm looking for my VM. Did I disconnect it? I think it's this. Let me see. Oh, okay. So this is my VM. Right now, this is like a raw window, but running on Azure. So just open to your PowerShell or command line. I'm going to use PowerShell in this case, and do wingate install Azure.cli. Let's see. If it installed, it will install the Azure CLI for me. It will ask me, do you agree to this? Say yes on your own. No matching packages found. Okay, so you can just do wingate install Microsoft.cli. Let's see if it's found packages within this. No packages found. So let's go to the web. I think I've already bootstrapped this. So okay, there's a command to add here. Execute ID. So I'll copy this. Come to this and install the CLI first. So while that is being run, because of our time, let's move fast. Let's go to the Foundry. Remember, one of the steps in the slide is in our own presentation now is that you need to understand the various templates that are available on the Foundry. For those of us who are not familiar with Microsoft Foundry is a central location where you can deploy and model with AI. A lot build AI agents, explore the different models that Microsoft has and the one from third party like OpenAI, and even Grok is also there, and a lot of them. We have Cloud Opus, I think 4.8 has just been released, and it's also available on the Foundry. So this is what you need to, you is a place you can do a lot of those stuff. So let me quickly go to Azure portals. Now to go to the Foundry, you can search for it within this portal. Why you see it show up here is because I've been using it. That's why it stays on the recent services I've clicked. But you can actually go to the, let me send this link for you to install CLI. If you have any question, let me know. So you can actually go from ai.azure.com. You can access the Foundry portal directly from this URL. So yeah, it will ask you to start building and exploring and all that. So what you need to do, you can go through this page alone and understand the features and everything. Now these are workflow you can build. These are stuff you can do. This is Azure Logic Apps integration, model context protocol, MCP, hosted agent, built-in memory, and all that. Trusted to operate, developer first. So you can explore capability, get to know it first, then before you start. First thing first is always very much better. Now, these are the template I was talking about. So you don't even need to like look for attend maybe a paid classes, a paid course. Let's be honest with ourselves. Everything is there for you to learn. As you can see, I haven't logged in, so don't think until you log in, that is when you can have access to this page. You can try. Can someone try to go to this page? Let me send to you. Can someone try to see if you can access the template without being prompted to log in? Or even if you are prompted to log in, you should be able to sign up for Azure. You can you can go here and explore the pricing page to know what's the model that are available and their pricing. I'm not sure Microsoft is capturing pricing here. Okay, let's go to agent and service and framework. Okay, these are models. Then okay, let's check here. List of models. So we have OpenAI. We have there's Azure OpenAI model. We have the DeepSeek. We have Microsoft own. Let me see. So these are the pricing. If you are consulting for someone, maybe someone wants to deploy the AI model using Foundry, first of all, they will need to know their pricing. This is input per token. That is input. If you interact with an AI, when you send, like you are sending with ChatGPT, you consume tokens. What are tokens? Tokenization is the number of words that you type, that you, even when you are retrieving, when that comes out to you, when you are sending, you are being charged. When it delivers to you, you are being charged. So if you even check, the output is more expensive. That is per 1 million tokens. So you can explore what is called tokenization, and today's class won't cover that. Explore what tokenization is, that when you can know what I'm talking about here. You can also say in AI model, so it will tell you exactly what happened. So Google that. So another one is also going back to where I were. Okay, explore this page later on your own. Now build for enterprise. These are a lot of agent automation. If you want to build, go to template, you're going to see it. So on your own, you can build these things. Get started. The guided step are there. Even the architecture is there. Now, these are like the solution architecture that will deploy this, get started with AI chatbot. Like for here, you see that there's a client. The client is me and you who want to use the solution. They post questions and return answer. When they send to container app simply is the application that hosts the AI agent in this case. And it is powered by what is called container app environment. So the whole compute is a serverless service on Azure. So the environment powers the front end, that is the front end and back end running on container apps. What does it do? They send, when they query this stuff, it upload for indexing. Indexing means by indexing, I don't know how another language to use, but in the process of getting this document from the retrieving them or in loading document into what is called Azure AI Search. Azure AI Search is like a database that interact with your enterprise database and your AI app. All the data, once Azure AI Search index data, they make them available for you, for your AI agent to retrieve. Now, let me explain. I mentioned MCP server. Now, this is where MCP server come in, because what does it do? MCP server will help in form of auditing the queries that come from AI, because there are a lot of vulnerabilities within your AI right now. It will help you to audit what comes in here before retrieving the data from Azure AI Search. The Azure AI Search now in talking to your database or your data. So application insights help you to gain a kind of traceability of what is going on in the app. Foundry agent service, this is the agent itself, which is hosted within the Foundry project, a place called Foundry project. So let's confirm if this has been okay, it has been installed. So we can now do winget install Microsoft.azd. I think this one will be fine. Okay. So it will install it and successful. If you type AZD right now, you should be able to have some commands to work with. Not recognized. So we need to restart this. Okay, let's say Azure CLI first. Not still recognized. Okay, let's restart this PowerShell. So it's working now. So if you also check the AZ command, you should see it. So now I can use this. First of all, I need to authenticate to my Azure. How do you do that? So for those of us that are starting, you can use AZ login, maybe dash tenant ID if you want to tie to a tenant, or you can just say AZ login. It will prompt you to select an account or add an account, but I'm not going to log in here because I'm going to go back and work on my local system, which I've already authenticated. Let me take away the slide. So now what am I doing? So if you go to the AZD, let's follow through with the process here. So what you need to do, the instruction is that you should clone this repository. How many of us are familiar with GitHub? So if you are familiar with GitHub, you can raise your hand. We are going to do a section that has to do with the Linux GitHub fundamentals, Git fundamentals, because it's it's essential skill you need to have. So if you clone this, be it Bash, macOS, and this thing, just copy this one, come to your CLI. First of all, you need to create a folder. Let me close this particular terminal so I don't cause confusion. I'm not using window because I've already have everything set up I was only going to show us how to install in case you are using window, how to install it. And authentication is also, it's going to ask you to sign in with your email and all that. So I'm going to close the Windows section. Go to, this is my project folder. Create a folder and then add it to your VS Code development page. Then copy that command, git clone, filter blob none, and paste this particular content to a folder called AZD for beginners. So to clone it into this place. Now I should have a file not here to work with. If you do git status, now you need to cd into AZD dash for beginners folder. That is where the project files are stored. Did I make AZD dash for beginners? Okay, let me check my working directory first of all. Okay, I'm already there. I'm already in that folder, I think. So now if you look at the requirement.dev, let's go back to, you need to git space checkout. Let's go to this one. So it gets us more validation step and all these files that we need. These are the workshop files, those things we are reading online. These are the workshop file, the .md file that is passing the instruction. This is the .md file. I'm not sure my Visual Studio recently doesn't display a .md file again. So I usually come here to, I will need to look into that. So what is new in AZD today? You just need to read all this on your own. You're not going to read everything. And you can also explore some gallery, even submit a template if you have one, and even the GitHub repository. Also, they say now getting started in 3 step. We have the script. The script is called validates dash setup.ps1. This is a PowerShell script. Any file you see that starts with the PS1 extension is PowerShell script. Now, the same thing if you're using Linux or Mac OS, you need to run batch validate. So HS first. Let's go to that file and even locate where they are. So you see there's the one for Mac OS and there's the one for Windows. So if you're using Windows, even this one, you can also run it even on Mac OS. You can run it even on Mac OS. So AZD for beginners. I want to say where we do. Okay, the files are all here. So now we need to run that stuff. So let's run bash dot dash validate, just to validate just as you. I'm not sure many of you are familiar with the what's it called, Terraform. That's ISC code. When you write your Terraform, you do your Terraform init, you validate to know that this is great, this okay to run. So we can validate that, say everything is marking okay, that I have my Node.js installed. If you go to Node.js, also is one of the package manager for those of you that work with the front end. If you want to develop maybe an app, you need a Node.js file, or you can run npm. Let's see, that's not package manager. So you need to install this also for it to recognize that it's there. Now that you have validated, the next instruction is to, okay, we have already done this, I think. And in Mac OS, we are using Mac OS, use brew tab Azure /AZD and brew install AZD. If you are using Linux, maybe Ubuntu or Red Hat or CentOS, run this. Now you need to authenticate to Azure. Like I mentioned, you can use AZD auth or AZ login. Any of these will make it to talk to your Azure environment. So let's use AZD auth. AZD auth login. So it will open my environment and ask me to sign into Azure. For those of you who does not have subscription, you need to sign up for the 30 days free trial. Let me look for the link. You only need to add your card. It's very important that you have environment where you can practice. You cannot know it if you don't practice. So we have I've been authenticated there. So I've logged in already. So for you to check, you can do AZ account show. So you need to know which account is there, you need which your subscription is there and everything. So this is the one you now use to now deploy or interact with. The next step now is, let me bring this side by side so we move faster. Come here. This is the, so, okay, I have Azure. I can't do it because I need to. Now deploy your first app. We have a Node.js. Let's go. Let's go and check that file now. For you to see your Node.js file, come to the dev container, come to close this one. Chain log is here, resources, go to resources, update cheat sheet. Okay, this is OpenAI chat. These are the infra. So now we have everything. Let me explain some of these services. For you to build an AI app that is secure, not just AI app, any application you are building, as long as they are cloud-based, you need what is called a key service manager, or something you can use to manage credentials and certificate and keys. And on the Microsoft Azure has what is called Key Vault. With Key Vault, you can use it to manage your key. What are these keys? Keys are like the API keys. Because when you want to talk to the Microsoft Foundry, maybe a project or an agent, you need the API key, the project API key, and the project API, the project endpoint. Those are the two things you will likely need to interact with the Foundry resource or Foundry project. Now, there's another way, advanced way, that is more secure in production. So instead of using API key, because it can fall into the wrong hand, what you can do is using a managed identity. Managed identity is like a key, a spare key given to a visitor to enter a house. Without that key, you won't be able to enter that house. So for Azure to speak to Foundry, for productionized environment that is very strict, use managed identity. That's the best recommendation. So you can, if you have not heard of managed identity before, go and Google it. Identity, you can Google it and just see. So it's the most secure way to interact with AI, or even within the Microsoft platform with other stuff. Now, what does Key Vault do? With Key Vault, you're able to store keys, API keys, endpoint. Now, this is OpenAI. Now, this OpenAI will do what? What to deploy? It will deploy an OpenAI resource model, in this case, to deploy the model. Now, secret, to load the secret into Key Vault. These are what this file will do. The main.bicep file, in this case. Now, let's even speak about bicep, though it's a big name, but it's also, if you are familiar with the infrastructure, as code, Terraform. So bicep is the one that is peculiar to Microsoft. Terraform is cloud agnostics in the sense that it works across AWS, even Microsoft and Google Cloud, and any other platform. So this one is the main.c file that has to do with the divination file of what you are going to deploy in this other subfile. So just like referencing those modules. So these are modules. All those ones, like I'm not sure many of you are familiar with Terraform modules. So that is the same way. Terraform like in Terraform, there is main.cf file. So main.cf file is the one that's the main file that has all the, and it will be referencing those modules. If you look at this one, the first module to reference is key vault. And the folder is one step before entering into resources. If you observe, the main.bicep file is outside the resources folder. So that is why it is referencing one dot slash resources. So the same way is also referencing the OpenAI model, also referencing the secret and all that. So that's how then the parameters are simply the location, defining the environment name, the location, and the Azure principal ID and all that. So these are the resources. Now let's look for the app. The app is here. We have the API gateway is going to be deployed. We have the product services. Docker is also here. Docker file is here. Today is not really like the development class. So, but then since we come across this word, Docker, a lot of you know as a container that you use to wrap your app and deploy. So the main.py is the app itself, a Python app itself. Then all these ones are backend. Then for frontend, you will see I'm looking for, this is the microservices, simple flags API for, we have, okay, this requirement.txt file is the requirement that you need to install. Flags is the Flags API powered by Python. Guinea is what now WebSec is also a requirement file you need to. For those of you develop, you know, the natural YAML file is the one that will set everything, set the simple Flags API and all that. So now there is even database here. There's also here. So if you see a lot of stuff that are embedded on those on what we just cloned. So it's a full stack app. So if you go back to the interface here, deploy the app. How do you do that? You first of all initialize the project repository, the Node.js Mongo, is it Mongo app? It's okay, let's initialize that. So now let's get your deployment environment ready. Would you like to check your deployment tool? You can say, let's see. Yes, it will check. MCP server not installed. Okay. These are what is mixing. Copilot, GitHub Copilot chat not installed. But I have it. MCP server not installed. So let me see what it will. Now you said, okay, I should define the environment. And the environment is like where you want to deploy this to. So let's do AZD dev. That's what I want to use. Now I've initialized that and there's an environment set already. So the next step will be to deploy the app. Let me clear my screen. And let me also increase the font of this thing so we can see it clearly. Now, if we go back to bring this down a bit. Maybe this it's okay. So if you go back there, we need to do AZD up. It will create everything that you can ever think of. Now AZD up, that is just 2 commands. It will create. Now let's say no project exists. Where am I? No project exists. So I need to go to a folder called, you see, I'm in the beginners dot this. Let's go to, let's say something. So we can go to resources. Let's go to, let's use simple. We have this There are many resources here. I'm trying to see the folder that we can go to. Database is here. Let's go to infra resource and all this. Let me see. CD resources. Let's check resources. We have the study, no, that's not the one to go to. Let's go to infra and go back one step. And outline images. Let's go to do Node.js dash Mongo. Okay. CD to do dash Node.js dash Mongo. Now in this folder, what do we have? Okay, I think we have everything here. So, but then we have the infra. So let's go to infra. First of all, deploy the infrastructure. Within the infra, we have the abbreviation.js. We have I think we have everything. Let's see the app folder. Yeah, we have everything. We have them. Okay. So I think we need to just deploy everything one after the other because the folder are being nested, which is not too okay for beginner. So now let's do AZ up here. Let's AZD up. Let's see one. It's supposed to pick the main dot this, but I'm afraid the resource one, the one that has to do with this infra is not there. Okay, my bicep is actually out of date. That's another thing you need to also install. You need to install Azure Bicep. You need to install Azure Bicep. Azure Bicep, like I mentioned, is an ISC infrastructure as code that is peculiar to Azure. You won't be able to deploy with Bicep to another cloud provider, just like we have the likes of AWS CloudFormation, which is peculiar to AWS. So Azure Bicep is a domain-specific language used declaratively for deploying infrastructure. The only difference between Azure Bicep and Terraform is that Terraform manages state file, and Bicep doesn't have state file. And also Bicep is not cloud agnostic. You can use that across cloud, but Terraform can be used. So this is finished. So in answer, I should select the tenant I want. So I'm just going to press enter. It's already set on one. So I'm just going to press enter. Subscription is already highlighted. So it will retrieve location and ask me which of them I want to deploy to. I'm going to put it in the North Europe since I'm closer more to North Europe. Okay, North Europe. So let's see. So it will validate and deploy. Now, what are we deploying? We are in the folder called Node.js Mongo. So yeah, we have let's look for that folder. The folder is a subfolder within. Okay, it should be in the root folder. AZD for beginner. So it has created the Azure App Service Plan, named as this, as a plan. That is the plan. The plan is what powers the app service. App service simply means is a platform as a service solution on Azure or service on Azure that help you to manage you can deploy application into it without managing the infrastructure. It's different from the virtual machine in the sense that the virtual machine, you are the one to manage the patching and all that. an upgrade. So here, Microsoft takes off that burden for you, and it runs under a place called App Service Plan. Now, if you go to the Azure portal and search for the resource group, remember I defined the environment as AZD-dev. That's what it uses. So if you go to the portal right now and maybe search resource group, you should be able to see it. So with just one command, you're able to deploy this stuff. If you were using ClickUp, like coming to the portal to clicks, you know how many times it will take it. So one of the reasons why you need to understand commands are the basic, in the sense that it will help you to fasten your deployment. Imagine if you had to deploy 1,000 web app. So you're going to click through the portal with 1,000 web app. It will take a while. You know, if you use like infrastructure as code to manage within one click, you deploy. Then this is a key vault I was talking about. Now let's speak about key vault because it's very important, mostly as you use it to store your keys. Now, in this key vault, there are policies. You need to manage the policy, who and who has access. Now it is not recommended that you open up access to key vault to the public. So key vault in a production environment must pass through what is called virtual network. And within the virtual network, you need to create connection between private endpoints. So the only person that can connect to Key Vault and have access is only those whose IP address has been whitelisted. Now, we don't have any existing, because we are testing, we are just demoing, but in production, you need to disable all public network access, because people who have access to this place can retrieve your key and use it to disrupt your environment. So you need to disable public access, create a private endpoint so that every connection to it will pass through the private endpoint through IP address whitelisting. Let me connect my headset. So yeah, can you still hear me, please? Can I hear anyone? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So now you need to create the private endpoint, but we're not going to do that today. We are not talking about networking today. Maybe some other day. So key vault right now, if you do not have network, of course, there's no network. You need to configure access. Microsoft recommend that you use Azure role-based access. What is Azure role-based access? Azure role-based access, that are RBAC role, are roles that are based on job-specific function. Like if you are, let's say Anema today is the key vault officer. If you are a key vault officer, your work will be to read key or retrieve key, get the key from key vault. I can grant you access as a key vault officer. So to manage the access now, if I change this one right now, it's only people that have been granted access to this key vault that can read the key vault keys and secret and even certificates. So three things we can install here: keys. It could be like API keys. Then secrets. It can be like your app service secret. Certificate could be like your SSL, TLS certificate I used to secure your website like this. Let me show you. Like this guy now. Connection is secure. This SSL certificate, you can store it on Key Vaults. Have your application call it from Key Vault. So all these things are the best practices you can adopt if you deploy. Now I don't have access to view the content. If you look at it, I don't have access. So I don't even have access to imports. But this is my subscription. I own this subscription. I'm the owner of the tenant. I have a global admin. But why? Because I have not been granted the role to manage Key Vault. So that's the function. If I disable that, change this stuff now, it will see that I will have access. So what do I need now as individual? I need to go to Key Vault, that same Key Vault, and say, okay, myself, I want to be able to manage the Key Vault. I need to go here and assign the role to myself. Let's look at job function roles, privileged administrator role, that is PIM role. These are not recommended because these are highly privileged role. These are highly privileged roles. So it is better that you give employee or your colleague, let's assume you are being employed as an Azure administrator. You need to know how to regulate this. So me, I'm just going to grant myself Key Vault administrator. Key Vault, maybe Key Vault officer. Let's see, Key Vault. See, Key Vault administrator. This is still too high. If I want someone to just manage the certificate, I'll just grant you this. But I'm going to grant myself Key Vault officer, Key Vault secret officer, meaning I can only manage secrets within that Key Vault. But for the sake of this work we are doing, let me grant myself Key Vault administrator. So this is managed identity also. You can also grant managed identity access to that Key Vault. We are going to speak about that some other day. So this is me. Yeah. I will just grant myself that this access can also be defined to be a time-bound access. If I have access to what is called PIM, PIM means privileged identity management. It gives you a time-bound access. I can give myself, say, okay, let's expire tomorrow. Depending on maybe, let's assume you have I'm your consult. I come to your company as a consultant. You don't need to give me a permanent role. Maybe I just need to audit your keys, maybe something. Just grant me temporary role that will expire after some time. See, I still don't have access. So let's go back. If you check again, what role did I assign myself? I think under role, I get what did I grant myself here? So I grant myself as a Key Vault administrator. What can Key Vault administrator do? So let's check. You can do what? Perform all data plane operation on Key Vault. I can read, I can get, so I can do all this. These are stuff I can do. Oh, it's only the read access. Okay. So now if I go back to this one, it should be, I think it might take a while to propagate. Let's see. But if that row doesn't work for me, let's go to, I can add myself another row because I need to, for the sake of this, so that I will fasten it, I can give myself contributor row because I was supposed to remove the other row. Let me just see if it will go through, but I know it might. Let me see. Okay, it works. So I should be able to see the keys here. Now I'm going back to this place. Everything has been deployed. Okay, now we have two endpoints. One is the API, which is the backend. If I click here, I can copy this, or I can simply go to the portal and get those apps that have been deployed. This is the API, that's the backend. And this is the URL. We have the Swagger API, for those of you who are familiar with APIs. So these are API that the app will do, get and post. Now go back to the same way, get the front end. Let's see how the user interface look like. Okay, so this is the web app. What do? You add an item. This is my list. You can name your list like in more to do. So I can add item. Go to work. I can just search and know that. Let me see. I think there's a plus sign there. That's supposed to help me to. When I can mark as. Let me see something first. In more good to work. Let me see. Mark as complete. Okay. These are just like tests, but then this app is meant to build like a to-do list. this sample user, and all these things are sample. Now, for you to make this to work, you need to integrate a lot of like, is what they call Microsoft Entra ID, the MSAL, that is Microsoft Authentication, MSAL auth. So you need to authenticate with MSAL auth authentication. That will enable users to log in and have the approval saved and can refer to data afterwards. So, but then that's how you can further do this. Now, how do you now integrate AI? Because we have deployed those resources, we've deployed log analytics and everything. So if you go back to, I'm looking for that. Okay, this is the to do. Okay, we have done this. Do you know if OpenAI had deployed? Let's see. Let's go back to this. OpenAI did not deploy. This is the shared dashboard where you can visualize your logs, and that. Let's go back to Cosmos DB. That's the database that's supposed to power the app. This is the app insight. This is the app plan that was deployed. Let's go back to check if the keys were loaded here. I still don't have access to this key. Okay, that rules are not taking effect. So we've deployed those apps. Now the next thing is to because of our time, I think our time is fast spent. So let's now you on your own, you can explore. If you want to deploy other things like maybe OpenAI chats, let's assume we need to go to this container app and all these microservices. I'm not sure if you have deployed. If you only deploy, if you can just quickly go one step backward, then navigate to Azure dash OpenAI dash chat. Can't find. Let's go. Let's clear. See what do we have for beginners. Where is this? This folder is under beginners here. Okay, under example. Okay, CD to examples. So we have that. Now CD into. Okay, yeah. I think from here we can do AZD. No, let's go to OpenAI. CD into Azure dash OpenAI chat. Oh, there's no S. So we are here now. In this place, we have the infra, we have the app itself. So we can do CD into infra. This infra now, we can now run AZD up to deploy the infra. Within the infra, we have resources. Resources are simply, let's see what resources. Resources houses those modules, secret and OpenAI. So now let's go back to the root folder and run AZD up. Okay, right, I'm in the infra. So do AZD up and see. So in this place now, enter a unique name. You can just say OpenAI dev. So it will just deploy them. So there are many apps you can deploy within this folder. So what I can do is that in your own spare time, you can go through it. What did it say? Error require checking external Docker. The Docker service is not running. Oh, sorry. So another thing is also that you need to install Docker, because this one depends on Docker on your system. So I have Docker on my system. Let me try to start up. So if you want to continue on your own, you need to install Docker. Docker is a container solution that helps you to deploy your app and have it run. So if you start up your Docker daemon, the why it's not running is because my Docker daemon is not running. So I need to start that up, which is currently starting up, Docker Desktop Engine. So for you to install Docker, just go to Docker, if you just Google Docker installation, Docker Desktop installation. So I have some articles in the past that guide you through this bit. I'm going to look for the link and share later. So these are the things you need to set up first. Download this container environment. And now if you go back and run that app, you should go through because I have my Docker now start up. Okay, so do you have any question so far? If you enjoy this section, go to our meetup page and give us the feedback, just a kind of review. I'm going to send the link to the meetup right now in the chat. So let me go to my browser. So let me put this Docker desktop link where you can install. If you need help, just report on the group chat that you are trying to install this and this happened. All right, so Docker desktop installation. Then our meetup is at this page. You can go today's event. When you open to meetup, they're going to ask if you were there. So you just give us thumbs up if you enjoyed the section, and then that's all. So thank you very much for your time. And if you need anything, let me know. We have, just to add to this, we have numerous upcoming sections in June. Today is the last, I think today is the, I'm not sure if today, I think today is 30th of May, almost getting to the end of the month. So we have lots of sections lining up and more are still coming. We have one on the 13th of June. We have a lot coming up. So do well to sign up in all of them. We are bringing in more of the fundamental section to be able to help the section, mostly the beginners. We are building up some resources around that, and we are building up some sections, and we are going to launch them in the coming days. So stay tuned and then continue learning. If you have questions, don't forget to ask in the group chat. Do you understand? Do you have any question? If you have any question, let me know. Okay, in the absence of no question, we are going to end here. You can continue to learn, build with this. This is simply, I need to upgrade my own, I need to upgrade my Docker to the latest version. That is the challenge here. You couldn't pull the image. This is a sample image to pull. So have a lovely day. See you later. Bye-bye.